I'm gonna be telling you guys how to become a book girly, because I know so many people who want to try to be book people, but they just don't know where to start. So I was like, okay, let me give my 2 cents on it, because you know, everybody wants my 2 cents, obviously. That was sarcasm, by the way. Hey guys, my name is Precious. Welcome back to my channel. Sometimes I like to read, so I decided to share how I became a book girly, and hopefully I can inspire you guys to start reading, because honestly, reading is like one of my favorite things to do. I used to be someone who hated books with a passion. When I got into middle school, I swore to myself that I would never read a book again. So all through middle school, I never read a book. We would always read books in class together, like an audiobook, but I would never listen to those. I would literally be sleeping, because that's how deep my hatred for books were. Like, I was like, I'm not reading another book again. And when I got into high school, I started taking honors English, and I was like, okay, I actually have to read these books, because if I don't read these books, I'm actually gonna fail the class. So I started reading because of my 9th grade honors English class. So honestly, that's kind of how it all started, and look at me now. If you follow all my tips, I guarantee you will probably turn into a book girly. Okay, my first tip is to just start. I know you're probably like, well, duh, you have to start. I feel like whenever people want to start something new in their life, they're like, okay, I'll start it later, and they always kind of put it off, and you're always kind of like, oh, I need to wait for the right moment to do this. And honestly, that's kind of how I was with reading. Like, I would constantly watch book videos. I would always be like, oh my gosh, I want to read that book, or I want to read that book, but I would never actually make the move to read whatever book I wanted to read. So even though this tip kind of sounds stupid, it makes sense. Like, literally just start so that you can at least say that you're reading. Next, you need to read what you want to read. Obviously, when you're first starting reading, you can't really know what exactly you want to read, because you gotta kind of feel out what you like. But if you're reading a book and it's clearly taking you forever to read it, maybe you should move on from that book, try to find something else, try to find a different genre, because that's kind of how I was when I first started reading. The first book I picked out to read, I read a Harry Potter book, because I was like, oh, I like the movies, I'm gonna like the books. But it took me forever to read that book, because first of all, I had already seen the movies, so I knew what was happening. Reading Harry Potter isn't as fun as watching Harry Potter, if I'm being completely honest, especially if you already know the story. So it probably would have been better if I wasn't reading Harry Potter for one of my first books, but like, I mean, I still had a good time, but like, it would have been better if I was reading something completely different. Because honestly, right now, I don't read anything like Harry Potter. Like, I'm a straight romance girl. So yeah, you just gotta kind of feel out what you like, but if something doesn't feel right, then maybe you shouldn't be reading it. Okay, my next tip is to bring a book everywhere you go. Maybe you think this isn't practical. Like, why would I bring a book if I know for a fact I'm not gonna read it? That's just what book girlies do. But for real, you never really know when you're gonna have time to read. Like, I always bring a book to school, because even though half the time I don't end up reading the book, you never know when there's just gonna be like a quiet, empty moment where you really have nothing to do. So if you're willing to bring a book with you, bring a book with you, because once again, you just never know. Next, you have to find a designated reading time. So basically, just pick a time of the day where you will for sure be reading. Like, for instance, I like to read either like late at night, right before bed, or early in the morning, as long as I don't have school. But those are usually the times where I get the most reading done, because throughout the day, I'm usually busy, especially whenever I do have school. But I mean, I feel like that's pretty obvious. If you want to be someone who reads, you have to find the time to read. My next tip is ebooks. Now, I don't really read ebooks that much, but I did have my little Wattpad phase. I don't think I've really ever admitted that to anybody, but like, I feel like every teenage girl who likes to read has had their Wattpad phase. Now, I really don't read it anymore, but when I did read Wattpad, I would constantly be reading, because like, it was literally just on my phone. So I mean, it's literally the same concept with ebooks. Since it's always with you, you're always gonna be more inclined to read it, especially when it's on your phone, because like, it can take the place of like scrolling through social media. It's just very convenient. And if you want to go one step further, you could get a Kindle. Now, I don't have a Kindle, but if you are like for real so set on being a book girly, and you know you want to take reading as like a serious hobby, and you have the money to spend on a Kindle, I think you should get a Kindle. Everybody I know who has a Kindle has said it's the best thing ever. So yeah. Next, I think it's important to set a goal. Now, if you have like a goal, like, oh, I want to read this many books in a year, or in a week, or in a month, or this many pages in a day, it sets an incentive for you, and you're more inclined to want to do it if you're like, oh, I need to do it, because like, that's my goal. I don't want to fail my goals. And I feel like whenever you do reach your goal, like, it's very satisfying. For me personally, having a goal motivates me to read more. Next, you just gotta romanticize it. That's what kind of world we're living in today. Romanticizing anything just makes it better. So like go to a cute little cafe or a park and just read out there and romanticize it. Go to the cute bookstores, take pictures, annotating. I feel like annotating is a fun way to like be all cutesy whenever it comes to reading. Get cute bookmarks, get cute bookish merch. Literally doing all of that just like ups your mood and your want to read. Also, watching booktube or book talk or scrolling through bookstagram, like that's something that puts me in the mood to read. So find the people you like to watch on social media when it comes to books, because they will make it way more fun. Replace your phone time with book time. That's like the easiest way to read more. If you want to go on your phone, don't. Read your book. Like literally, just read your book. And then my last tip is to make sure you give yourself a chance to enjoy the book. I feel like when you see all these people on social media reading so many books, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to read this many books. Oh my gosh, I'm not reading enough books. First of all, you shouldn't compare yourself to the other people. As long as you're enjoying the reading experience, that's all that matters. You need to make sure that when you're reading, you are like actually like enjoying yourself. Don't force yourself to rush to finish a book because you're like, oh my gosh, I need to read this many books this week so I can stay on top of my reading goal. Like I know I said setting a goal does help, but if you're too focused on the goal, then I feel like you won't focus enough on the book itself. And I feel like that kind of just defeats the purpose of reading, because when you're reading, you're doing it to enjoy the story, but you're not enjoying the story if you're too focused on the number of books you're reading, if that makes any sense. Just enjoy what you're reading, enjoy the moment. Don't rush through whatever you're reading just because you want to read so many books. But yeah, those are my tips. But I'm gonna take this part of the video to just go through some book recs that I think are good for people who are just starting off with reading. I'm just gonna go through these real quick. I'm not gonna go too much into depth because they're all like popular books. First, I know you're probably tired of hearing this name, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Colleen Hoover. Her books are perfect for people who are starting their reading journey because her writing is simple to follow and her storylines are interesting enough to like really grab your attention. But if you want to read any of her books, I would recommend Reminders of Him, Ugly Love, Verity, or It Ends With Us. All of those are good ones that I think will keep you entertained. Next, I feel like YA books are like perfect for beginners no matter what age you are because they're easier to read. Two of my favorite series are the Selection series, which is like a romance dystopian, and then the Inheritance Games, which is a mystery / romance. Both series have 3 main books to them. All of the books end on a cliffhanger, so you kind of have to read the next book to know what happens. So it'll keep you engaged, it'll keep you interested, but it's also something that's very easy to read. And then some other book talk romances that I love. The Love Hypothesis, People We Meet on Vacation, The Deal, The Fine Print, and then Rock, Paper, Scissors, which is actually a thriller. I don't really read thrillers, but this is definitely a really good one that I think anybody could love. But yeah, I think I covered everything. I hope this video was informative. I know like a lot of these tips were like basic, but I feel like when it comes to reading, you don't really need deep tips on how to start. You just kind of gotta go for it. So hopefully I inspired you. Maybe this will be your push into the book world. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope the rest of your day is amazing and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye! Guys, I'm literally like wearing pajamas.